Hi, welcome to Claire and Abby Time, the very first episode,
Let's go.
episode numero uno. I'm Abby,
I'm Claire.
and this is going to be just us talking because we usually talk like this between the two of us. And I think we could change the world, and I think people need to hear it.
I agree. So you can just like be little flies on the wall
Yeah.
and just listen to us blab.
Yeah, there's a fly on my wall currently.
I have like had so many flies in my house recently.
Yeah, me too. Well, it's been really rainy here.
Mm,
Like I'm in South Carolina and it's been really rainy and wet. So I feel like every time I open my door, there's a bunch of like, and I live like right by a pond.
yeah.
So there's just like a bunch of those little like pond flies that will follow me in. Like the ones on my, like they're like teeny tiny. They're not like an actual fly. They're like little gnats.
Like the fruit flies.
Yeah, they're nasty.
Yeah. I got one of those like blue light things that has like the
Yeah.
stick on it. And I don't know if it's really working, but I feel like I've seen less of those. But like actual flies, was it last week? I think it was last week. There was a fly that got into my house, and I swear I was chasing that little shit for like 3 days before I killed it. It was crazy. We were beefing.
I feel like flies don't live that long.
Well, then maybe it was multiple. Oh my god, my phone just fell.
I will say the bugs that I currently have the most problem with, I'm like watching them outside, is there's like these little wasps that come by on my little like porch that I have.
Hmm.
They're so mean. And it's just actually they're not really mean. They haven't done anything to me, literally at all. They just exist and I don't like them.
They're bugs, and bugs are kind of scary.
And they're like violent bugs. They're bugs
Yeah.
with consequence.
Like I'm okay with bugs if they leave me alone.
Yeah.
But like if you're gonna be aggressive towards me, then I'll just kill you. I don't care. You know?
Yeah, I don't have like wasp spray, so I mixed together dish soap and water and just like threw it on the wall, which allegedly kills them. I don't know how long that was supposed to take, because he seemed pretty alive when he flew away, but hopefully he died elsewhere. Um, there's also hornets, but I think the hornets keep the flies away.
Have I ever told you the story about my brother when he well, I guess those were yellow jackets, not hornets, but he stepped on a yellow jacket nest barefoot
No. Which one?
person.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, they were Boy Scout camp and he was walking barefoot and he stepped on a yellow jacket nest.
Classic.
Yeah,
Classic.
pretty fun.
Pretty silly goofy for him.
Pretty silly goofy.
I haven't actually been stung before by like a wasp or a bee.
I haven't either. It kind of
Knock
scares me.
on wood, but
What if I'm allergic and I don't know it?
see, I was thinking that, well, this is kind of embarrassing, but like I'm alone mostly. Like I moved away from my family, most of my friends. Um, so I was like, if
Maybe.
I get stung by one of these bees out there and I have an allergic reaction, I live alone.
And then you just die.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess I call 911 because like I don't like if I have an actual allergic reaction, I can't drive myself. Like there's no re because like I've driven friends to the emergency room before plenty of times for various things. And like
No.
yeah, and I'm like, I feel like that's usually my like, oh, like why do people call an ambulance? Like you can just drive. The hospital's not far away from me, actually. It's like maybe like a couple minutes. But I was like, I can't drive myself. And I don't know many of my neighbors, and I don't know any of them well enough that they would drive me to the emergency room. So like I would be the person that has to call an ambulance for a bee sting if I had an allergic reaction. Because like I don't have an EpiPen or anything either because I'm not allergic to anything else. Well, I say else. I don't know if I'm allergic to bees or
I
not.
like how you're also talking about this like the only possible way is a bee sting. Like you couldn't need like something else.
Well, like there is like other things. The see, I like see bees. Like there's bees that are around. Well, because also I have like a lot of flowers, so there are bees. I interact with those. Things like if oh, if I like cut myself, like I know what to do to like get myself in a position where I could drive myself
Yeah.
unless it's like really bad. But like that's like less than like oh, like I cut myself pretty badly. I need someone to come Like I need paramedics to come. That's less embarrassing than like I got stung by a bee
And I didn't know I was allergic, and now
and
I'm
now I don't know what to do. Like that's so much less like, oh, like I broke my arm on accident. Even if I was doing something stupid, you broke your arm. Like you call like that's like a 911-able.
like when you fell off the roof.
Okay, I didn't break anything then, first of all. And we just call 911. So thank you so much. But yeah, no, it's just like I don't know. The idea of having to call someone for a bee sting is like really embarrassing.
Hmm. Well,
I was
hopefully that isn't a thing that happens.
I was also thinking, since I watched Twister, as we know, Twisters,
Yes.
and apparently there are tornadoes that come to where I'm at, which I didn't know. Because for context, I grew up in Kansas and Missouri. Um, so very familiar with tornadoes, very aware of those. Know what to
Well,
do.
good
There's
tornado.
no storm shelter here. Like
Oh,
in my apartment complex, there's no like they don't do like the monthly tornado siren test or anything, but like they have gotten tornadoes before.
yeah.
So I was like, that's pretty crazy.
Hmm, interesting. Is it weird to live in a state where you don't have the monthly tornado sirens?
Honestly, I didn't really notice it until I thought a lot about tornadoes because I watched Twisters.
Hmm.
Because I feel
Well,
like every month in Missouri, it was always like a little bit of a surprise. Like I like knew it was
yeah.
happening and I knew why, but it was always kind of like,
You like freak out and then you're like, oh, it's the beginning of
yeah,
the month.
you're like,
Like,
oh, it's Wednesday.
yeah,
You
like
just
that's
kind of like
coming
move
up
on.
pretty soon.
Yeah. Because not like I didn't really notice that it wasn't there until I was like, oh yeah. Well, because so here it was also because I was thinking in Twisters,
Hmm.
the great movie, fantastic movie, great performances.
Love Glenn
Like
Powell.
Follow My King. Daisy Edgar Jones, her performance, I heard a lot of negative things about it, but I thought it was really great. I think she did a great job. There were a couple of times where her accent was a little bit Irish.
Mm,
But like I only noticed it because I was listening for it.
yeah.
So I was like, she did a really good job. Fantastic movie, a little bit obsessed with it. Probably gonna watch the original today.
I didn't know that it was like a remake
It's not,
until,
it's a
well,
sequel.
not a remake, but like that there was a previous Twisters movie. I didn't know that until like a couple days ago.
See, I've seen the like original before.
Not.
And I was honestly expecting a remake, but then like the characters were different, which like obviously, I don't know. Anyway, but really good, very invested in all of the storylines, had me on the edge of my seat. However, the people who are in these Oklahoma towns in the movie, they made it seem like they didn't know what to do in the tornado. They were all
Oh,
running around
what?
screaming. I'm like,
If you
I
live in the
feel like
Midwest,
I was in Kansas, which is like kind of like the yellow zone of Tornado Alley. Like Oklahoma's like red zone. I was like yellow, orangish,
yeah.
like growing up there. But like there were people like getting in their cars to drive away from the tornado or whatever. And I'm like, like I was taught as a child, like you don't want to be in a car when there's a tornado. Like you get out of the car if there is a tornado.
And
Stuff
you
like
don't
that. I was like,
bitch.
yeah, I'm like, why are we getting in the car? You're from Oklahoma. You know what to do. Or like they were running around and like there was one part where they all go into this building. They're like, we have to find the basement. Like, where's the basement? And they couldn't find it. Like every single building growing up, there was like a sign on the door that said what to do in a tornado. It was like fire, tornado, like here's your route, here's your shelter. I was like, these people, with all of the love and respect in my heart for this movie, because it was a genuinely really good movie, I was like, they would not be that helpless. Like, I
No.
know that these storm chasers are supposed to be the experts, and they were like, we need to get to this specific low location that will protect us. Yeah, like they have been in a lot of tornadoes. So it was
Yeah.
literally everyone in Oklahoma.
Yeah. But and like even like the children know what to do because at school you practice.
Yeah, you practice all
Like,
the
we
time.
still practice. Like we have our tornado drills. We have what two? For context, I'm a teacher. We have two tornado drills every year. Like
Yeah.
they still practice. They know what to do. They know to
Yeah.
get into a little
Yeah.
safe
They were
spot.
Well, and there were like people they were like, you gotta stay low. Like people were trying to stand up. And I'm like, once again, I can explain it away through so I'm like people do weird things in scary situations, but like realistically,
Yeah.
even if the tornado catches you so off guard, which like most of them do, like you don't really expect that there's going to be a tornado when you're like walking around. They kind of just appear out of nowhere. One, you like aren't going to be running around trying to save your freaking outdoor tent setup at the farmer's market
No.
because you're not stupid and you've been there before.
You're
And
gonna
like
get
if you are, it's not going to be like yelling, screaming, holding onto your tent. It's going to be like very strategically packing all your shit up and then going inside
let's move as fast as we can.
as
Let's
fast
get
as we
on the
can.
road. Yeah.
And also, it doesn't really catch you that much by surprise. I feel
Right.
like everyone's always like, "Oh, it looks like a tornado out there." Like everyone has like a sixth sense where it's like
Yes.
the sky is green,
Right.
the
Especially
wind's
like I
hissing.
think if people don't live like in the Midwest or like somewhere where that happens, you like maybe wouldn't get it. But like I feel like people in the South, like when a hurricane's coming, you know a hurricane's coming. You
Yeah.
can you don't know exactly when, but you know that it's coming and you can prepare for it a
You know
little
something's brewing, you know something's
bit.
going
That
on.
maybe it's time to
And
get somewhere safe, you know?
yeah, and I'm like, it was probably just for like the sake of the movie. But I'm like, my little Midwestern slash Central US person was like, but like they wouldn't be doing this. But
Yeah.
like if you had enough time to drive to the town to warn them, the sirens would have already been going off for like
Right.
a hot minute. Like that, they turn those sirens on for like watches and warnings. Like the tornado doesn't even have to be set up yet for there to be a siren going on. And like, yeah, most of the time, if it's just like silly, goofy, like everyone, there was a one part where she was like, they go off all the time. Like it's hardly ever a tornado. Relatable. Been
Yeah.
there. However, like most of the people, in like part of the premise of this movie was like it was like a really big tornado week. Like everyone knew, all of the weather services knew that it was going to be a really big tornado week. I'm like, you're not that stupid.
Right. If they knew it was gonna be a tornado week, then like prepare. I don't
Or
know.
at least like they would just know where to go.
Oh, yeah, that it was coming.
Yeah, like it or well also part of it was the unrealistic part is that siren goes off and this girl's standing inside and she's like there's not a tornado, there never is. I'm like every if there's a siren and you don't think there's a tornado, everyone's outside.
Right. You gotta go look.
Everyone's
You gotta go
watching
see. Right.
unless there's like actually a tornado, which there was, then you go inside. So I'm like if people are coming inside and there's a tornado going on, I feel like I would be like, oh, this is a tornado, like
Yeah. That's so
like
true.
this
The
is a
first
bad
thing
tornado.
sirens, the first thing you do is go outside and look.
Yeah.
Thing
And
you're
I'm
not
like,
supposed to do, that's the first thing you do.
well yeah, because it's fun to watch.
To see. Okay, another thing with this movie, Anthony Ramos is in it,
Yes, he is.
right?
Hmm.
And I don't know if you know about the Anthony Ramos lore. What do you know about the Anthony Ramos lore? Because you don't know anything about it, probably.
Much now.
Because okay, I feel like am not an Anthony. I used to love Anthony Ramos, and I'm like not an Anthony Ramos fan anymore. So Anthony Ramos was in Hamilton, and that's why you don't know this lore because
Haven't watched that.
Abby doesn't like Hamilton.
Yeah.
Um, it's a whole thing. I've seen it like 4 times, whatever. But so he was in Hamilton. He was like in the original cast. He was Lawrence and Philip Hamilton, Hamilton's son.
Okay.
And he and Jasmine Cephas Jones, who is Peggy and Mariah Reynolds. Yeah. It's been a hot minute. They like got together and were dating and like they were so cute, obsessed with them, power couple. And like she is beautiful, she has such a good voice, and he cheated on her. So I feel like I can't be a fan of his anymore.
Mm.
You know? It's like
Yeah.
how do you fumble Jasmine Cephas Jones? I know you don't know these people, but like how do you fumble that? You know what I mean?
I don't know. People are stupid.
Honestly,
No, actually, I was talking to someone the other day about is my coworker, and we were talking about when men become famous and drop their significant other, because it was um the guy from The Bear.
Jeremy Allen White.
Jeremy Allen White had like a wife that he divorced when he started like really picking up steam, and Sabrina Carpenter's boyfriend.
Barry Keoghan.
See, I know you would know the names. Barry
Yep.
Keoghan. Similar thing,
Oh,
like yeah, high school sweetheart, had a child, got famous, separated. And we were kind of talking is we were like, it's like for men there's these two things that you can accomplish, and at some point, like if they, because it's like I'm either gonna become famous or I'm gonna like get married and have kids.
right.
And it's like, oh well, they hit a certain point, they like got married and had like
Will exist
kids,
apparent.
but then you become like famous and you become this sex symbol, and then suddenly it's like, oh well, I have options.
Yeah.
So like why would I be tied to one? But then on like the contrary, a lot of women who become famous, even if it's like later in life, aren't married, haven't really had a significant other because they focused on their career, because it's like it's almost like I don't, you can't get very
It's
far in
misogyny.
Hollywood as a woman if you're married.
It's misogyny.
Yeah. And I don't know. It was like I don't really have a conclusion to it. I don't really have much backing for my claims, but it was
But
just kind of like a weird pattern where I'm like,
also,
when's the last time you heard of a woman becoming famous and divorcing her husband and leaving him with a kid?
I'm genuinely trying to think, like, I don't know.
Like even like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt were both famous by the time they got married, had a whole bunch of kids. And like still most of the kids, I'm pretty sure, spend like 95% of their time with Angelina.
Isn't he like creepy towards them?
That I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen that. I
But
never really.
like also like Kim Kardashian and Kanye West had all these kids. They still spend 95% of their time
Mhm.
with their mom. It's just like I don't know. It's a weird,
Yeah. It's a weird, yeah.
I mean it's a pattern in society and in life, but I feel like in Hollywood, like sometimes you get those like magnifying glass moments where you're like, "Hey, like we all thought you were really hot, but also why did you divorce your wife?"
Right. Like you can still be hot and like not
Yeah. And in some cases, you being a loyal partner and a father is more attractive than you being available. You weren't really available to me to begin with. Like I had no delusions that you would ever marry me.
like
I'm
Ryan Reynolds loves his wife, loves his kids, is a great father, is so hot. Like,
yeah, like I like what's the problem? It's like Ryan Gosling, him and
yeah.
Eva Longoria, or that's her last name, right?
Is he married to Eva Longoria?
I'm
Did
pretty
I just like not know this? Is this lore that I just don't know?
I don't know if they're married, but
Honestly, to me, Ryan Gosling just like exists
Eva
and like,
Mendes.
oh, Eva Mendes.
Sorry, wrong Eva. See,
Ryan
that's why
Gosling,
I knew Longoria didn't sound right. But yeah, no,
yeah.
they've been
Well,
married
Eva
since
Longoria is.
2011,
Oh, see, to me, he just like exists as an entity and like he doesn't have any.
which is how it should be. Like it
Right.
should not be that like you being married is for some reason like mind-boggling
Yeah.
in your career to the point where you're like, "Oh, I have to get like if Jeremy Allen White was married, I don't really care."
Right.
Which like also part of it, I'm like they're not I don't know why they got divorced, or like why
That's
they're
true.
no longer married. But it
Like,
is like a pattern. Like I don't want to group everyone in it when I don't really know all of their stories. However, it is a pattern in Hollywood where like you get famous and you get divorced. Or like at some point being married no longer serves you, or at some point like
I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
It's very odd. Very
Yeah.
odd.
Very on. I don't know. Hmm.
I think a fly just flew across your screen.
I I told you beefing. I can't. I also think like downstairs part of my like window is like not sealed all the way.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe like but I don't know. But I don't want to like call and like which I probably should, but I don't want to. The other day I opened my garage and there was just a guy standing there and he was like, "Hey, I'm doing checks around the property," and it like scared me so much because I was like listening to an audiobook and I had it playing like out loud and then it just like slowly opened to reveal this man and I was like, oh my god. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
I would kind of lose my marbles a little bit.
Yeah. But you know.
Live laugh
But
love.
like I could call and like say that, but I've called them so many times about have I told you this about my neighbors who it just like always smells like weed.
I am familiar with your neighbors where it always smells like weed, yes.
Always smells like weed. And like if you want to smoke weed, that's fine. But this is like supposed to be like no smoking, you know, and
Mhm.
it makes my house smell like weed, and it makes like everything in here smell like weed. And then when I don't want to like have people come over and then it like smells like weed, you
Yeah.
know, especially because it's so hot right now. It like
Yeah, that's true.
works, and I'm worried that like it is the worst like in my closet because that like is the part that connects to them. So I'm worried my clothes are gonna smell like weed and then I'm gonna show up to school smelling like weed.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Right? I'm like, but I so that was just my little rant. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, I don't know. The only place in my apartment that I like smell things from the other apartments is my bathroom. And I think
Mm.
it's like the vents in there. It just smells like cigarette smoke sometimes. And I'm like, I know
Can
you're
you
not supposed to do that here, but
like your other one?
what?
Can you hear your neighbors in your other bathroom?
Oh yeah, I could hear my downstairs neighbors.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Our piping must have been connected because yeah, I could hear them doing their business.
Finish it.
Yeah, hear the plops. I don't, yeah. Our like floors were really thin there, which is weird because like I feel like most people are like, oh, the walls were really thin. Our walls weren't like super thin, but just like the floors were like we could hear downstairs super well.
Mm,
You could hear
yeah,
all sorts of things.
all sorts. That apartment was crazy. My bangs are like annoying me.
I think I'm gonna cut my hair tonight.
Really?
Yeah. Not like
Like,
shorter, like
why?
ears.
Oh, okay. Like your bang part or like
Uh,
curtain bang?
like all of it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I found a YouTube video that I think I can follow. Like I think I got this one. The problem I'm gonna have to like straighten my hair though,
Mm,
because it's like one of those ones where it like needs to be.
yeah. See, you always do these kinds of things and it always works out for you. I feel like if I try to do it, I would just like look like an idiot.
I personally am of the belief that it just has to be part of the vibe.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna dye your own hair, if you're gonna cut your own hair, like you can either be really good at it and no one knows, or you can like be pretty mediocre at it, but just like
Not care.
yeah, like I'm not like a clean girl, like my hair's always straight and even. So like, oh, if one side of it's like a little bit shorter,
Yeah. And that's why I think it also works for you because you have like natural like curl wave. Mine is
yeah.
just it'd be much easier to tell with
Yeah. My
mine.
hair is very forgiving with a lot of things. Not really with color, but with color it's mostly bothersome to me at least.
Mm.
But, you know, I did cut my bangs once and that was not a super cute look for me. But I think that had more to do with me just not being a bang person than the bangs themselves. Because I think I like look back at pictures sometimes and I'm like, I think I actually did a pretty decent job cutting them. I just didn't want to style them. which is also part of the problem, is I don't really like to style my hair a whole bunch. So like most of my style comes from the cut, but for bangs you have to like blow dry them, whereas I was trying to like just let them exist and then they just kind of looked like greasy and like gross.
My bangs are pretty low maintenance.
Yeah, well your hair like flops naturally in
Yeah.
a bang like way, if that
Yeah.
makes
As
any
long as
sense.
I like comb it down after I shower, then they just like chill.
Yeah.
I didn't blow dry them. That's just like how they dried after my shower today.
My bang area, because I have like these little bangs, they're not bangs, they're just like side pieces. But when they were bangs, because they started off here, it just like it curls like
Yeah.
in like an odd way that's like not like it could be cute if it was consistent. But the problem is that both sides do different things. They're not cute. And it usually gets greasy really fast because I'm an oily girl. Actually, speaking of oily girls, this is another name. This is the thing with oily historically, like 1500s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I saw a TikTok earlier and I told Claire about it. Oh, we're running out of time.
We're running out of time. I didn't know there was a time limit.
Well, I don't have pro.
Oh,
Here, wait. I'm gonna make a different one and then I'll start my story.
okay.
Few moments later.
Um, so as you know, this is our first time recording a podcast. And Zoom cut us off the first, like we started recording, did super great, did 30 minutes. Zoom
Mhm.
cut us off because I don't have pro. So we made a new meeting. We were gonna talk and continue so that we could wrap it up. Great. Oh, I didn't record it. So we're recording now. Um,
Yeah.
welcome back. I realized immediately after ending it because it didn't give me an option to end recording.
Mm.
So
Well,
there was a lot there that I don't that,
trial and error.
yeah, never gonna know.
Yeah,
Guess
exactly.
we'll never
Like
know.
we said, this was literally just us gonna be talking like we normally do, and
That's
that's what
what
it
we
was.
did. And
That's
we
what we
did
did.
record it. Um,
I don't even remember where we like left off on the first part.
well, where we left off on the first part is I was going to talk about the TikTok that I saw about the olden like 1500s being really
Oh.
gross and icky.
Yeah.
Which essentially, well, you guys don't know about it. So
Yeah. Do a brief recap,
Claire
Abby.
already knows. I had like a
I know
30-minute
now.
rant about it. So essentially in like the 15, I saw this TikTok and it was about some royal in the like 1500s, 1300s, somewhere around olden days. Olden days where they were all stinky and gross. And like a point of pride for this royal person was that they only bathed twice a year. And that made them like a warrior queen was like their ideas. They were like, I'm rough and buff and I only bathe. Actually, not twice a year. It was twice in their lifetime. They said they bathed when they were a baby and then they bathed before they got married. That's what it
Oh,
was.
okay.
So then they were talking about, everyone used to always get married in June. It was like June weddings because May was the month where you bathed the most. So you smelled the best in June. Because you like bathed in May for like holidays and such, like something like that, religious things. Um, but they would carry like the bouquets of flowers, like those were invented to like make it so that they smelled flowers and not your stink. And like the fans that they would all have around was because their breath smelled really bad because they didn't brush their teeth, which makes me really ponder Bridgerton and all of their fans. Is I'm like, was that because your breath was stinky? Like, I think that clearly there was like language going on with the fans, but like, was that also because your breath was stinky?
Could have been. We don't
But
know.
part of this TikTok was talking about like the beauty standards for rich people was that like the hair was really long and greasy and they would wear hats to keep like their lice away from their food and like crowns so that like their lice didn't get everywhere. And their teeth were always like decaying if you were rich because it was a sign that you had wealth and could access sugar and alcohol and stuff like that. It's like
Good.
their mouth was disgusting. And I was talking about like going if like I always imagine like if you go back in time, like me as a human, like Outlander style, go back in time, like I would be a pinnacle of beauty.
Yeah,
Because I'm
absolutely.
clean and I'm like nice and like I have modern amenities, like my skin's clear and like my hair is like lovely and like stuff like that. But like I would be immediately clocked as poor. Like they would immediately be like, you're clean. That means you don't have money and you had to go take a bath because you were doing hard labor. So like you're obviously super poor because your teeth are white and you can't eat sugar. And which like have modern dental care. They don't give a they're 1300s. Like their modern
Like,
dental care is removing
get
teeth.
clocked as yeah, like you would stick out like a sore thumb. You get clocked
Yeah.
immediately.
Which was just kind of like a real like disrespect because I think that if I went back in time, you know, I got that voluptuous curvy body, like that's where I would thrive. I got those birthing hips, like they'd be like, hell yeah, birthing hips. They had dresses that made it look like you had birthing hips. I got them already. But no, they'd be like, you have white teeth. That means you're poor.
I mean, we hate you.
And like that's like that's so disrespectful that I have like nice white teeth and like short cut hair and they're gonna be like, you have been a prostitute.
I mean, there's no other option.
Yeah, and I'd be like, damn. They're like, you have shaved legs, you shaved your armpits, you're a whore.
You're gross.
Like that's crazy. Although I I was thinking because I was also like it's super stinky there, right? Like everything's super
Yeah.
stinky.
Oh,
But I was about to take a shower today and I'm like, you know, like, do you ever just like the smell of your stinky armpit?
um, can't say that I do.
Mm. See, because I'm like I don't like feeling dirty. Like I don't like when my hair is greasy. Like I'm very much so like I want to always be clean and shaved. But like sometimes I'm like, hey, it doesn't smell too bad.
I mean, I can't say I've ever thought that, but I love that for you.
Thank you.
That's like a cute journey for you.
Thanks. So
Yeah,
maybe I would have been fine if I had a stinky
maybe.
armpit in the 1300s. But my
Maybe.
teeth would still be clean, and that would be controversial.
I feel like we couldn't realistically be time travelers because we would want to go back and look like we do like when we go to the Ren Fair, like all cute and dressed up. But that just like wouldn't be like we wouldn't be in that status level. You know what I mean?
Well, that depends on your kind of time travel,
Well, I guess that's true.
because it is mythical time travel, and one, I could lie and convince people that
You're
I'm,
a very good liar.
yeah, I could be like, I'm rich and a princess elsewhere. I need you to give me all the nice things, and they would.
Hmm.
Or
I
like
actually I believe
magic. They could be like, oh, she's a witch. We're gonna burn her
they could do that. I feel like that's probably the most likely result of time travel
for sure.
is you just get killed.
Yeah.
You know. Well, good thing that
Or I
you
become the medicine woman for all of the townsfolk.
and how like you're just gonna bring Advil with you or
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I mean, realistically, like if you think about it, a lot of their problems were just because they like didn't understand germs, which like I feel like a basic understanding of germs. They're like, "Oh, like I have this wound on my leg and I don't want to die because I'm gonna get it, it's gonna get infected and I'm gonna die." And like just like basic wound care,
Yeah. Some
like
tree.
that, like yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, give me some vodka and I'll
Cleanse it right up.
cleanse it right
We've
off.
cleansed things with vodka before.
What?
We've cleansed things with
We have.
vodka before.
We sure have. Bird
Yeah,
poop.
bird poop for sure. That was a time.
That was a
It
time.
comes in clutch. It really does.
It does. And like it's effective. I mean, it's not like the most effective, but like once again, if you're in the 1300s, they got alcohol.
Yeah, like what else are you gonna use? It's not like they got Dawn dish soap. I
Yeah.
don't know
And
about
like
guys.
honestly, just like being like, hey, we need to change your bandage every like so often. Like
Yeah.
pretty easy peasy.
Yeah. Kind of crazy.
I feel like I feel like being a medicine person back in the day couldn't have been too hard. Like if you have our knowledge now and you go back,
Yeah.
like just like, oh, you got water from the pond, I'm gonna boil that first.
Yeah.
Easy.
But then would they be more likely to think you're a witch again because
I'm boiling water.
doing all these things? It's
I
like
mean,
magic.
probably, but that's where I'm like it's like how much benefit would I bring versus like how spooky am I?
That's true.
You know, like if people aren't dying, like once again, Outlander Court, like they kept her around because like was what she was doing kind of spooky? Yeah, but like people weren't dying.
Yeah. I keep saying yeah, like I haven't seen Outlander,
I
so
mean, I've only seen the first season, so if there's anything in the first season that's contradictory to that statement, I don't know about it. But
like don't correct us, but you know.
like don't correct me, but
But like,
speaking of, do you think that you have iPad face or iPhone face or whatever that is?
oh, probably.
Because I don't think you do.
Oh, really?
Like, I definitely think you could go back in time and they wouldn't
Actually,
be like, that person's seen an iPhone.
I kind of agree with that.
Like,
I kind
I think I have iPhone face.
yeah.
Like I look like I interact with technology on a regular basis.
Hmm. Yeah. I feel like
Although I do feel like if I had different like hair, well, first off, if I went back in time with a scorpion tattoo, that'd be crazy.
yeah, they'd be like,
Be like,
huh?
what? But honestly, best strategy, personally, in my opinion, if I went back in time, is I would find a convent.
Oh.
And I'd be
Honestly,
like, I want to be a nun.
yeah.
Like immediately, like I am a nun. Because like, well, like I grew up Catholic. Catholicism hasn't really changed all that much. Like it has, but like at the same time it hasn't. Like I could definitely, say, hey, like I ran away from home. My family wanted to convert to the Church of England, but I want to stay Catholic. I would like to join their convent. And they'd be like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, that's a great plan. If you ever get stuck in the past, you know what to do.
I do know what to do. I mean, it's probably kind of hard to like find them.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be the hardest part is like traveling is so difficult.
Yeah.
And like I don't like horses. Like I would probably get over it if I was back in time for sure, but like
Yeah. But then it also comes to the thing of like if you go back in time and you're stuck there, do you really want to like live and survive? You know what I mean? We have this same discussion with like a zombie apocalypse. We have very different views.
I'm like I would. My question is more so like I would want to live and survive and like I would probably have like fun with it. My question would be more so
Like
how
even with
hard would you try to come back? What'd you say?
like even with like all the things that you know that are coming in history, like would you want to like try to like live a life there?
Yeah, I mean people still lived. It's not like we all died.
Well, yeah, but like I don't know. I think I am just too I don't think I would do it.
I mean like if someone told me that like I don't know, all the things in my life were gonna happen, I'd still want to live it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, depending on like people still lived and people were still happy. My question would be just like I would definitely, if ended up back in time, regardless of the time period, I would try and build a life there. Like, I would try and figure it out, like, probably feel out my way, probably like, join a convent, get married would probably be like the two things that I would make a pretty quick priority is like either you join a convent, pretty easy to disappear there and just kind of live your life. Like you got food cared for, clothing, basic necessities. And like most convents, at least for like nuns, like you could have like they got jobs and stuff. Like they have things that you can do. I would probably like write a book or something.
Okay.
Like,
Author.
yeah, like a lot of nuns were historically teachers. So like could be a teacher, or like I would try and get married because like historically, especially as a woman, like getting married, that would set me up for most things.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like it would depend on like how far back in time we're going if I think it's worth it to try to make a life. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
feel like there's a limit to where it's like this just would not be like worth it to me. You know? Am I crazy for that?
I mean, I don't know. Like I've never really thought like, oh, if I go back to Roman times, I'm just gonna die. Like I've kind of always just been like how would I live? Like what would be my first steps? Because like depending on like how far back we go, if we're like pre-Catholicism, because once again, if we're like at a time where there's nuns, I'm a nun.
Yeah.
Like, that's go plan one.
See, but
Go
and you
for it.
can fit in. I don't think I could fit in because I don't know anything.
But you don't have to know anything. They'll
Yes.
teach you. You can just be like, or find like a silent convent or something. Like
So true.
people couldn't read or write. Like they're not gonna be like, you have to know all of the details. You like they're not expecting you to know anything. You're just a woman.
That's a valid point.
So like that's why I'm like, well, because like comments are also where they put just like their problem bitches. Like honestly, they were like,
Yeah.
that 12-year-old is being really rambunctious. She's going to the
Put her in
convent.
the content.
Like throw me into the convent. I'm a problem child. You're gonna feed and clothe me. Like sure, it was probably like not the best environment, but like feed and clothe, if it really sucks that much, at least at that point I have my immediate survival taken care of.
Yeah. I think my issue is just that like yes, I may not have iPhone face and look like I could live in that time period, but I like modern luxuries too much.
Yeah.
You know? I wouldn't want to go back.
See, that kind of comes back to my other question though, is I'm like, how hard would you fight to return to this time period? Because I'm
I
like, I know that if I went back in time, like I have my immediate survival plan figured out, like I would try and find, and like if I couldn't find a way back to this time, that would be one thing. But like how, like I guess it would depend on how you got sent back in time and if it's
was
realistic
gonna say,
for
I
you to
think
like,
it depends on like the method and like how you were able to time travel. Like,
yeah,
was it like a freak accident? Was it like something you were trying to do? Was it like a machine? Because if it was a machine, then like you're not gonna be able to like have that same like you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like it would depend on the method of going to the past.
instead of going,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I'm like, I feel like that's always my question. Because I'm very much like, I feel like I would land and just be like, well, this is my life now.
Hmm.
And then I would just like go.
Yeah.
And like it would probably suck for a little bit because like got my family and everything's like,
Yeah.
but you know, I'm also in like the 1300s and everyone has like typhus or something. Which
Yeah.
I will say I do think if you realistically time traveled, I would get sick and die, which
Yeah.
is also partially why I would go to a convent. Because once again, like they're pretty clean. Like
Yeah.
a lot of them were hospitals, so that wouldn't be great for not wanting to get sick. But like I like know about germs, like I would like do the best I can. But a lot of like diseases that are dead would not be dead anymore.
Yeah. We're not vaccinated against those.
I'm not vaccinated for
Yeah.
like leprosy. I don't know. Like I would definitely be stricken ill by some shit for sure.
And that's why I'm like, is it worth it? You know? Like, would you rather die a slow, painful death of like an illness or just like,
I
you know,
mean, but like what would your other
again, it's the same debate we have about a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I like I don't know.
I don't know.
That's presuming that you do get sick because you might not. You just also might, but also I might get sick here. We don't know.
So true. Yeah.
But I would probably try my best. Although low key, if you're trying not to get sick, I'm pretty sure like Jewish like villages survived the best during the Black Plague because of something.
Huh.
But I don't know where to find those.
I wouldn't know either.
I mean, I don't really know how to find a convent, but
I
I'm
don't find anything.
head to Rome, I guess.
I don't know. Hmm. Well, good thing we're not going to be time traveling anytime soon.
That we know of.
That we know of. Yeah. I don't know. That's crazy. We kind of just time traveled now because we kind of already had this conversation, but like not really.
We had a shorter version of this conversation.
Yeah, we really dragged that on longer than we did the first time.
Well, I had more thoughts.
And I enjoyed it. It was great. Yeah, we also were talking about hot cowboys
Yeah.
and how
Like
I
cowboy
personally have been reading lots of cowboy romances and like
there's just something about a
it's doing
cowboy.
it for me right now.
There's just something about a cowboy that's just great.
Yeah.
And I love me a cowboy. The only problem now is that cowboys is I'm never sure we previously discussed this is of their like political opinions and not like political as in like governmental policy because I will say like I'm talking like do you value me as a person?
I think I deserve rights.
Yeah, I'm like if you think that we should have a certain like tax thing, like I
Yeah.
feel like we can discuss that and like that's pretty chill. If you think that like I don't deserve to vote or like have an opinion or like the right to
Yeah.
make my own decisions about my own life and my own body, that's like a problem.
All right, I
And
spilled
I feel like I run into the situation on dating apps a lot is like especially the ones where you can list your political affiliation. Like Hinge, you can list your political leanings
it's unhinged.
which is crazy, but like all like there's like some really hot cowboys on there with like their little cowboy hats, but it like says like Christian conservative. And I'm like, I I know a lot of conservative men that do value me as a person.
Mhm.
Sometimes like I do think a little too hard about their political affiliation and if they actually do value me as a person, but that's like a later discussion.
Yeah.
But like when you're dating, and especially when you're dating off of dating apps and you already don't know anything about a person, I feel like it's so scary to like see like in today's political climate to like see that and be kind of like
Yeah. To just like put
I'm not
out
gonna meet up with you
right off the bat.
alone.
Yeah.
Like
Put it
that
out there right off the bat, like conservative. That's clearly something that you feel strongly about. And
yeah,
with the context behind that as a woman in America, that's scary.
it is. It's like and like you have to intentionally click like show on profile. So I'm
Right.
like clearly if I were to match with you, it's not like a oh like we would have like a discussion about political opinions later, like kind of like you know have a like actual discussion. It's like immediately off the bat, I think that you should like listen to what I want to do. I talked to this guy on Tinder and like listen, it's not what he says is not necessarily like wild, but like the vibes that I got off of it were kind of weird because it was like something where he asked about my passions in life, which I'm like, adult dating is kind of weird where like people ask like very intense life questions pretty early on. And like the transition from college dating to like adult dating is kind of crazy because college dating, like it's very like no one's expecting anything serious. I feel like a lot of the people that I've talked to on like adult dating, it like a very immediately is like, do you want children?
Oh,
But like the what like I told him like oh, like I want to write a book. Like here's like kind of like my career aspirations, and also like I love my family. Like that's something that's really important to me because he was asking what was important. And he was like, "Oh yeah, family. Like, do you want one of your own?" Which I was already a little bit like, this is like question number two. Like we had just started talking, which I was a little bit like, that's intense, but like, yeah, like I would someday like my own family. And then like it just kind of like devolved into this like, I want a family and I want to set down roots here in where I'm at and start having a family now kind of
Oh,
thing, which like once again like different places in life like that's totally fine, like I was kind of chill with it. But then it was, he asked if I was planning on staying where I'm currently at long term, and I was like, I don't really know yet, like I just moved here, like all my family's in Missouri, like I'm just kind of feeling it out, like see how it goes. And he was like, well, I'll convince you.
oh,
And I was like, I like it's just like one of those things where I'm like, it wasn't necessarily what he said. Like he had what he wanted. He was very clear with it, helpful for me. But at the same time, like that expectation of like, you will stay here for me rather than be like he was like, I want to stay by my family and set down my roots here with my own family near my parents.
yeah, like it doesn't matter what you want.
Yeah, and it was just kind of weird. So I'm like, it's like one of those things where I'm like, I feel like a lot of men that I've interacted with on dating apps who put conservative in their dating profile. Not that I match with many of them, but I'm always just kind of like that's very much so it reminds me of like the ballerina farm thing, if you've seen that, where it's like, oh, this is what you want to do. Well, this is what I want to do. So this is what we're gonna do. And this is where you're gonna go, and this is when we're gonna get married, and this is the family home that we're gonna have. Not to group all like once like I don't want to be like grouping a whole group of people together, but I'm like that's like the fear, right? Like that's like when
Right.
I see conservative in a bio is like I'm like that's what you expect from me and I don't want that, so I'm not going to match with you.
Right.
Immediately off the bat, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And it sucks because cowboys are hot.
So true.
Like they just are. Like cowboys are hot. Glenn Powell as a cowboy is hot. Cowboys are hot. But like when you don't know the person already
Yeah.
and
It's
you're
like
on it and you're on a dating app and the only thing I know about you is that you're a cowboy and you're conservative, my fear is that you
right.
don't value me as a person and that I'm going to be a prop for you to build your ideal family.
Yeah. And that's scary.
And it's scary. And
Just
it's
in general, being a woman in America is kind of scary.
yeah.
So that's fun.
Vote for Kamala Harris.
So true. Feminine phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. Brad Summer.
That's so true.
uh,
Well, anything else we need to brief the people on?
I don't think so. That was all of my topics. We kind of covered all of them.
Yeah. I think we did great.
A round of applause.
Yay. We only forgot to record once.
uh
Eh,
didn't need to hear that one anyway. That was our rehearsal.
exactly.
It was just rehearsal. It was just fake. It
It
was
was
just
just
pretend.
for us. They don't get to know everything that we said.
It's just
It was just for people.
it's
Just for because Abby and I are soulmates.
that's true.
So lots of people think we're dating. To clear up the rumors, we're not.
Yeah, after we just talked about how hard Cowboys are and how hard it is to be a single woman in America. We're not dating.
We're not dating, but we are soulmates.
Yeah.
Twin flames, if you will. So
We're like, in the Disney fairy movies where there's the two laughs and they separate when they hit the tree and they go to different places. That's me and Claire.
that's so true.
Where we were one little baby laugh that went phew.
We also love the Disney fairy movies.
You do, I cry at them.
We can talk about the Never Beast another day.
Okay.
We don't have time for that today.
I'll hold you to it. Okay, well,
But that was some good Claire and Abby time.
yeah, this has been Claire and Abby time.
I'm Claire.
I'm Abby. You're the fly on your wall.
The flies on our walls. the literal flies flying around.
Yeah.
We got apparently lots of those. They didn't hear about your bug because we
They
cut
didn't
it
hear
off.
about my bug. He's still on the wall, but
Mm.
that's a problem for me to handle personally. That was just between you and me.
That's just, so true.
Well, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you now have a plan for if you get sent back in time.
Yeah.
Let us
And
know your thoughts.
yeah. Great.
Bye.
Bye.